Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here with a video I've actually been meaning to make for a while. It is a LEGO CCBS Gemsona video, and I realize that CCBS is not the best medium for creating characters, and I realize that I may not be the best LEGO builder. I've had this character as my personal Gemsona model for a while, and I kind of wanted to share it with you. So my Gemsona character is named Chalcedony. She is based after the light blue Chalcedony. Chalcedony comes primarily in either like a milky white or a milky black, and I tried to reflect that in the color scheme. In my headcanon, Chalcedony has a similar build, if not a bit thinner, than Holly Blue Agate. She has some banding similar to Jasper does. You know how Jasper is orange with that like reddish orange banding. She is primarily the aqua blue found in sets like Gali, Master of Water, and Gali, Uniter of Water, but with some translucent blue banding, and she has short, dark blue hair with a similar kind of spiky style to Skinny Jasper from the Famethist. Her gem, while not displayed on this figure, is basically on the back of her neck, similar to Lapis Lazuli, where she's able to summon arrows, as well as her short bow. She also does, as part of her persona for helping her adapt to Earth, over her black suit, because you can see there's various different black parts, mostly on the upper arms, around the waist, and around the feet. Around her black suit has adapted to being a little more Earth-like, wearing just kind of like a white cloth shirt over to make it so her outfit is a little less spacesuity and a little more, I don't know, kind of earthy, as well as having kind of a bit of a skirt floating in the back, helping to blend in and make the whole lower torso area look a little bit wider and a little more triangular, and kind of a little more flowy, especially from the back. And as well as adopting a buckler shield, which she wears on her left-handed wrist. And she has over here, hanging off of her thigh, a machete. Just, in case for some reason her bow is not able to take care of business, she will also have a melee weapon. It's just a regular machete. It's not like a gem weapon that she can also rely on. If you photoshopped in some lines connecting from the bow bits to the back of the hand, you could definitely get that in. Worst case scenario, if you really don't like it, you could always say that she just has one of those like Klingon blades and maybe just has some throwing spears. So without further ado, let's get into the build. Alright, here are all the pieces you need for Chalcedony's legs, or at least my design of Chalcedony's legs. I chose to use the Generation 1 Hero Factory feet because to me they looked a little bit more like leather boots. Of course, for these you're going to need to use one of those kind of standard Bionicle Hero Factory hand pieces, or at least what would be used for a hand piece, since the Generation 2 and onward feet have the ball joint already, so you'll have to use one of these in order to get it to attach to a standard leg joint, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue considering this is a fairly common piece. If you want to use a Generation 2 or later Hero Factory foot, that's fine. I just prefer the look of the Gen 1 feet better because of the kind of more sandal, leather boot look. Next up, you're going to be adding two translucent blue bone pieces. These are the ones with the ball in the middle, and if you look on the side, it has a peg hole. Now you could, if you needed to, use a smaller size, but I use these pieces personally because it makes the legs a little bit longer than the arms. So you're just going to attach those to the feet as seen, and add two, I guess you could say the medium-sized Hero Factory shell armors in Azure Blue. If you only have standard Lego Blue, that's perfectly fine too, but I primarily use the Azure Blue because I like how beautiful the color looks. It's just a wonderful, amazing color, and I really wish we had more Lego pieces in general that were this color. It's phenomenal. Next up, rather than using one of the normal upper limb pieces, we're going to be using a shorter limb piece. This is typically used for like a forearm that has one of the ball joints, but as you can see, there is no peg hole this time. So she has slightly longer shins than she does thighs, but that's perfectly fine. Now, if you want, I have them arranged like this. However, if you want her to have basically a posable knee, you'll have to turn the ball joint so that the wider point of the joint is facing the sides as opposed to facing forward and backward. That will give her more knee posability, as you can see. But it will make her knees a little bit knobbier. So whichever you choose to do is up to you. Either one, I think, is fine. You're going to be adding, then, 2 black shell armor pieces of the same size as the azure ones, but rather than adding them on the front, you're going to be going on the sides. This is to make kind of like a look that reminds me a little bit of chaps, like you're wearing, not the, basically to look kind of like chaps, as in the clothing. I forgot you're supposed to turn the legs to the sides there, but there we go. Either like chaps or shorts. It also, because of the way the armor piece is designed, your eye naturally flares out the hips a little bit to make it look a little bit more like a skirt, or like the pants are a little poofier. And then, of course, you're going to be adding 2 friction adder pieces just to give the legs a little bit more length and to help the legs hold up under some more extreme poses. You don't want your legs slipping out from under you or bending into weird contortions. You want those thighs to stay straight in the position you put them. And then, last but not least, on the left side here, you're going to be adding one of these little claw pieces. Doesn't matter if it's gray or black. I chose black just because it blends in with the armor piece. These can be typically found in a lot of Hero Factory sets. Not Hero Factory. These can be typically found in a lot of the Exo Force sets. That's when the piece first debuted. Though it appears in a good number of Star Wars sets now, and I believe some Ninjago as well. It shouldn't be too difficult of a piece to find, and you only need one for this set anyway. But I put that in the upper hole of the leg, and now I take one of these swords. These swords can be found in a lot of Hero Factory, 2.0, actually no, 3.0, the Savage Planet sets, as well as a good number of Ninjago and a few other sets as well. I don't remember exactly where I got this one. I believe this was from like the one Ninjago set I have that I decided to take apart. But I just plug that on, tap little plug, boop, and there are the completed legs. Obviously I have the 2 knees in different positions. Again, you can use whichever one you're most comfortable with. The arms are actually fairly simple. You just need 2 translucent blue hands. If you have 2 azure shell pieces, use 2. I unfortunately only had 3 available to me, so I'm using a translucent blue piece for the left arm, though I have kind of an in-lore reason for it. Basically the left arm, since that's the one that she pulls her spears or her arrows from her gem with, that one is lit up with energy, plus it is also covered by this little armor piece here that I'm saying is a buckler shield. So that helps to make up for the fact they don't have a trans blue, I have a trans blue instead of a azure blue. We also have 2 more of those black shells, and 4 of those bone pieces with the ball joint, but no peg hole. And they simply just go together like so. For the black armor pieces, you're going to have the point pointing back to where the shoulders would be. And for the wrists, you're going to have the point pointing towards the wrist. And this will give just a little bit of flair towards the elbow to make it look a little bit kind of more poofy, as if it was maybe a little more shirt-like, or maybe that she just has fairly narrow limbs and a little bit wider elbows. And for the arm that'll be her left arm, I'm putting the buckler piece with the point once again facing towards the wrist. This can also help act as a wrist guard visually. The weapon pieces are fairly easy to put together. I'm using 2 of these. The weapons are fairly easy to put together. I'm just using 2 of these pieces here that have a beam as well as a beam holder, as well as a little short 1.5 beam piece, as well as 2 of these Hero Factory 2.0 and Savage Planet blades. I personally think they look kind of a little bit like the halves of a bow, so I personally like to use these. I'm using 3 of these spear pieces. They can pretty much be found in anything that has characters that hold spears. 1 of these beam holder pieces with a beam receiver on the end. 1 too long stud bit. Doesn't matter if it's black or red. I just picked up red because it was the first one I grabbed. 2 of these little peg pieces with a stud on the end. And 1 of these cool little contraption-y things with the 2 plugs on one side and a axle receiver on the other, like so. So in order to put this together, you're going to take the 2 stud plugs and put them into the holes of this gray assemblage, and then take 2 spears and slide them through. It doesn't really matter how far you have them. I prefer to have them kind of either about half or 2/3 the way in, just so it kind of looks like a little bit like a quiver. And then for the spear that's going to be in her hand, the arrow that's going to be in her hand, I don't know, arrows, spears, you can call them whatever you want. She has the receiver piece there, and a simple plug like so. That's basically going to be the arrow or spear she's holding that she's drawing back in the bow. And for the bow, you simply have to have the beam pointed outward, and you plug the blade in as such. Do that one more time, and the weapons are done. All you have to do now is take a limb, take the right hand, plug the limbs in, plug the bow in to the limb like that, and you have the bow. And take the left hand, the one that has the wrist guard / buckler, and plug the arrow, the drawn arrow, in like that. Of course, if you want to have her switched so she is right-handed instead of left-handed, you're welcome to do that. I personally make her left-handed. Here is the torso and head. It's a little more complicated, but it's actually a fairly simple build. You're going to need another one of those stud pieces and a Hero Factory or Bionicle or CCBS torso, one of the ones that has 3 peg holes on the top half and has no shoulder hole, no shoulder balls on the sides. You want one that's basically one of the shorter, like the 3 long, narrower torsos that doesn't have a ball at the shoulders. You're going to be plugging the plug and stud at the bottom there and putting in another one of those, I guess you could call them Exoforce hands. I forgot to mention that there was a second one. I forgot about it. Plug that in there. Next, you're going to be taking 2 double stud pieces and plugging them into the top crossbeam. And to finish up this side, you're going to be taking one of these Hero Factory shields from the 2.0 and 3.0 series. I'm personally using white because I like the look of the white, but if you want to use a different color, that's fine. I'm using white. And plugging that in, and that is the back armor. On the front side, you're going to be taking one of these Hero Factory 3.0, aka Savage Planet paw pieces, and you're going to be attaching that as the front armor, and I'm using this as opposed to the regular CCBS armor because I view this as being a little more, I don't know, kind of looks, to me it looks more like clothing, and it also helps add a little bit of feminine figure to the figure as well, and I like that because, let's be honest, Gally and, Natalie Breeze and the other female characters in CCBS don't really look very feminine because of the traditional CCBS torso armor. Next up, to finish that torso bit, on that clip that we put in, you're just going to be attaching one of these large armor pieces. I don't know what the name for this is, but it reminds me of just this big, bulky kind of cow catcher piece, and you're just going to be plugging the little rail on top onto the little clip and hanging it down like a skirt. And even though it doesn't clip in, the two parts that would clip onto a ball joint rest nicely underneath the ball joint. And from the back, it looks very much like a coat tail or like a short skirt. For the head, you just need to have the protector of water For the head, you just have to have a protector of water mask. Any Bionicle head, it doesn't matter what color, but probably silver. A brain stock piece, I prefer to use blue because I imagine her with blue eyes. 2 dark blue, though I guess you could use light blue, but I'm using dark blue black eyes. Drop my pieces there. And a 4 long black rod. Doesn't really matter if it's black or not, but you need to have it be 4 long. And you're just going to put the rod through as such. And attach the Borak eyes with the flat side on the outside, pointing directly backwards. And this is going to add on to the spiky hair look that the mask provides, as well as kind of look a little bit like ears. I realized that not a lot of I realize that the gem characters in Steven Universe don't have ears. Not even, and this is most obvious with characters like Pearl or, Peridot or Lapis, who you should be able to see their ears, and they don't have them. Or same thing with Holly Blue Agate and, Skinny Jasper, characters like that who should have visible ears, but they don't. So mine has ears, just because she wanted to blend in a little bit more with humans. She shape-shifted some ears. And when we put the mask over, it'll fit in that little bit of a gap and give kind of that extra spiky hair look, as well as kind of resemble from the side, a little bit from the side, some pointed back ears. Let's put it all together. We have our 2 legs. Attach them onto the torso. Take the arm holding the arrow and put that on the left side, and the bow on the right. Flip her around and take that little arrow piece, put it inside the gap there, and then push it up. And then simply attach the head. And it's okay if you have to take the mask off. I know the masks can be a little loose for these sets. And there you have it. Here is Chalcedony, fully built. She should look identical to the one I showed at the very beginning of the video. I really like this figure, and I know it's a fairly simple build, but I really like the way she looks, and I hope you do too, and we'll consider building her with some of your spare parts. She does, because of the way her elbows and knees work, she does have a little bit of a limit of poses, but slightly more posability in the knees than most CCBS figures. It's just the poses for the arms are a little narrower, like she can't bend her arms at a right angle. For posing, I just like to bow the legs a little bit as a steady stance, hold the arm out in a strong pose, and draw the arm back in kind of a little curl like that, like this, to act as if she was drawing back her bow. You can try to get it closer, but unfortunately due to the limitations in the ball joints, this is basically as close as you're going to get to perfectly lined up unless you put the arm out at a weird angle like that. But this isn't too bad considering the limitations of the pieces. I'm a fan of it. Of course, you have the bit on the back like a quiver, so that after she fires an arrow, she can always just reach back and pull out another arrow to draw and fire again. I would probably say the best angles to position her at, like on a shelf, would be either going sideways like so, from the back, just to kind of show off the pose as well, or at an angle that makes it resemble as if she was firing, but not directly at you or at a specific target, just kind of your traditional archery pose. That's what I would recommend. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been Metagross Freak, and I hope you enjoyed this video.